wasn't sure.
Had a respect for our former mayor, always admired him. But now, watching him up close and personal, I get to see where Sharif got fed all of his wisdom and knowledge. Because John Street was a resource to this city. A lot of the development that we see going on right now in the city of Philadelphia was because of John Street.
That's right. Right.
His neighborhood transformation initiative set in motion all of the development that we see in Northern Liberties and all of those places where he got those abandoned cars moved, cleared up the open air drug markets. I tell you, without John Street, this city would not be the city that it is today. And then it's funny, I was talking to him in class this week, and I was telling him we get ready to have a Clinton and a Clinton in the street combination again. Because when he was the mayor, President Clinton was in the White House. And now there'll be another President Clinton, and we'll have our state senator, Sharif Street. So it's my honor to present this award to his son on behalf of his father.
Give an honor to God. Right. I'm pleased to accept this award on behalf of my father. My father would be the first person to tell me, you know, the success that you attribute to high-ranking elected officials is not solely due to them. It is, so he'd be the first one to say, yes, he worked hard, and I'm telling you, as his son, we watched him work very hard. His grandchildren, two of my children are here. My son, Sharif Jr., stand up, Sharif. And Shayla is also here. Shayla, stand up. And they had to attend these events as I did. And hopefully something sinks in. You know, it's so fitting that my father is getting an award at the same time that Mr. and Mrs. Bundy are getting awards. Most of my father's tenure in office as a councilman, Mr. Bundy made sure that everything went smoothly down at the office. Everything went smoothly. He was one of the most diligent and conscientious people that you could have by your side. And he was an aid to my father in ways that most people will never have a real appreciation for. But if you can't get through your day, you can't get much done. While he was doing that in City Hall, Miss Bundy made sure that my father knew everything that was going on in the neighborhood, because I think she must have called Mr. Bundy 100 times a day and made sure that he knew what was going on, and he was a dutiful husband, answering every call that his job would permit him to answer, and usually it was with good information that made him look good down at City Hall, because he knew what was going on in the neighborhood. So they were a team, and they were a part of the team that created the legacy that my father had. I'll point out something else. My father talked frequently when I was throughout the tenure of my life, from childhood to adulthood, about our next congressman, Representative Evans. And one thing that I was most impressed upon that he said to me, he said, Sharif, part of what is happening with the Philadelphia School District is that we don't have enough people like Dwight Evans, Vince Fumo, John Purcell in Harrisburg in positions of leadership at the time. He said, because Evans, his exact words, he said, Evans and I would be in positions where we were barely speaking, but we weren't going to let them hurt our kids. He said, we would be barely speaking, but we could get together to make sure that the young people were taken care of, because we both understood that there was a higher mission and a higher calling. There was something bigger than us, and we were in this beyond that. And he said, too many of today's elected officials don't know how to have a political fight and not still put the people first. That's right. He said, he and I had all kinds of political fights, but we never wanted to hurt the people that we needed. So we were trying to hurt each other sometimes, but we weren't going to hurt the people that we represented. And he was honest about that.
Wow.
You can respect that, though. He said we had more people like that who figured out a way to have a political fight without hurting the people, then we would be better off. And he said you should know that about him as you're going to work with him. He's a man that understands how to get things done. He understands the bigger picture. He understands the bigger picture. So I'm pleased to have him on stage. And we're not going to have all the political fights, because I'm looking forward to working with him. But most importantly, we're going to keep the value of making sure that we keep the people first regardless of what else is going on. Because that's important. We had years of growth. North Philadelphia wouldn't look the way it does if it wasn't for the contributions of so many of you sitting in the audience. You know, I see, and I've got to recognize Brother Deans, who's doing a great job. And he's been working in the 3rd Senatorial District office for probably almost as long as Senator Kitchen has been there.
All right.
And he will be the Director of Constituent Service when I become a senator. I tell him we're giving him more responsibility, more authority, more ability to help people, but unfortunately no more money. But I will give him a bigger office. That's the government's way, right? We give you a bigger office and a nice business card, no more money. But I know he'll do the best with it. I want to thank Ms. Benita Myrick, who's also been serving the office for years and will continue to work with us.
Yes.
So. I worked in the office as part of their staff, and we're going to all stay a team to get things done.
All right.
When I look at this ward and I think of my father, I think of this. I think of building that, there was and make sure you talk about building for the future and building a building that you can't see with bricks. There's scriptures that talk about that. And we're laying the foundation, and we are all the foundations of the temple that God talks about us building. It's each and every one of us. The temple not built with hands. Each of us is a part of that. And so when we talk about we are building on the foundation laid by those that came before us, we can see the immediate work of the people that came before us, like the privilege of knowing a Mr. Driver or Mr. and Mrs. Bundy. I'm privileged to have known my father, and he guided me in a path. And there's a say, if you raise up a child on that path, he shall not depart from it.
That's right.
And I'm pleased that I was put on a path to do some things that are important. There are a lot of people here. I see Mr. Jimmy here. A lot of you all here. That whole table full of folks there who all worked with me when I first became a committee man in the 47th Ward, 3rd Division. When I first started my political career. Senator Kitchen, who has been there with me since I was 8 years old, guiding me along the way. We build a foundation based upon the work of those who came before, some of whom we know and some of whom we only know by reputation, because they'll be the mentors of the people who mentored you, who you may not have met, but you heard about what they did. And they're the people that worked for them that you didn't know about at all. Amen. And so we lay a foundation, and we all marvel. But has anybody ever driven by a building and marvel at the foundation? But people don't marvel at the foundation. They marvel at what they see and what's going on today. So when it's said that we do justice to those who came before us by doing something worthy of that today, it's because people look at this, people will marvel at this building, but the building doesn't stand if it's not for the foundation. But if this building were to crumble and the foundation was strong, people wouldn't marvel at the foundation because you wouldn't be able to see it because of all the rubble it was covered in. And we can't disrespect the work of those who've gone before us by putting shoddy work on top of it. Amen. We can't disrespect the work of those who've come before us by putting shoddy work on top of it. Mr. and Mrs. Bundy have laid too good a foundation for the next generation of young people that are coming around in this community not to do a good job. And the young people for them are those of us who are now in positions to get things done. Amen. As the young people who come behind us will be for us. You know, we have to, so when I think about accepting an award for my father on the precipice of my taking office, I think about, I can't disrespect the foundation that he laid and the work that he laid. Yeah. And yes, it's true that my father did a lot of great things in North Philadelphia. Representative Evans did a lot of great things, but a lot of that came from some help from Washington, and we got more money in the 90s from the Clinton era than we had previously ever seen in this city. And yes, Donald Trump is a buffoon and a clown. And I'm not going to go into it too much. Because we all know that. But I'm getting tired of people saying, but ain't either one of them any good. Because Hillary Clinton has her flaws. But she has done a remarkable job of working. She's done a remarkable job of working throughout her course of her life. I'm gonna tell you something about her, and I said some of this at the breakfast, but I'm not going to repeat it all. But there's some parts of it that you should hear. There's some parts of it you should hear. She is a person who grew up in an upper middle class background, comfortable, had gone to Harvard, I think Yale, and Harvard undergrad, then Yale, had a great degree, meets a man from the brokest part of America.
Say it. Come on. Say it.
And Bill Clinton was a white man who was broke, who lived in a poor black ghetto in Arkansas, and a poor ghetto in Arkansas makes the ghetto in Philadelphia look pretty good. And she chose to go with him, leave her middle class background in a suburb of Chicago, and move to a broke down black ghetto where Bill Clinton was from to help poor black kids with the Children's Defense Fund, and that was around the time that I was being born. So for people today to say that she doesn't care, she's not sincere, isn't right.
That's right.
It's not true. She spent an entire lifetime helping us. There was a time before Barack Obama was elected where the Clintons were the closest thing to black folks we'd ever seen in the White House. We used to joke he's the first black president. And she was right there with him doing all that work. The Clinton Foundation that they're tearing her down about, the Clinton Foundation that they're tearing her down about, spent most of its money making sure that there wasn't a genocide of AIDS that ripped through the Africa. That's what most of that money went for. It went to make sure that there wasn't an international genocide caused by AIDS in Africa. And they raised the money to stop the overwhelming flooding of AIDS wiping out West Africa, where many of our ancestors came from. That's the truth of what was going on. You know, and this is a word about my father, but my father will want to use this time to talk about it because this is his friend. And I'm talking something about Donald Trump's little statement. Make America great again. He said, make America great again. Now, my father was an English teacher, so I'm going to channel my father because he would say, Sharif, Sharif, do you understand the use of the English language? Do you understand the use of the English language? You need to understand, he said, and he would say to me, the word make. Make is defined as a term defined as to alter, bring about, or to create something. So Donald Trump wants to make something. America. So he wants to make America. So he's trying to change, alter, or bring about something in America. Then he says great, meaning that whatever he thinks, great is a term defined as something that is superior to that which it is being compared to. So whatever he is comparing it to, he thinks is, whatever he's going to make it is better than what it currently exists. But then the last word gives us the real key to the whole sentence, as is often the case. And that word is again. Again refers to a point of time that previously existed in the past that does not exist today. And I see some sisters in here. I see some women in here. Is there any woman in here that believes if we go back in history, we're doing better? Because you know, if you go back a little farther in history, women couldn't control their own bodies. There was a point in time when a woman did not have the right to control her own body. There were women that were going in backroom alleys because they made a mistake with somebody and didn't want to alter their lives and were dying from back alley abortions. That was the past.
That's right.
If you go back a little further, women did not have the right to vote in America. So he's trying to maybe go back to that period of time. I don't know if you women in this room feel like that's part of the again you're going back. If you go back a little further, a woman was the property of her husband, could not own property, and could not complain about physical abuse unless her father or her brother made a petition to the court, because a woman did not have the right to make a petition for herself because she was the property of some man. That's America, not another country. That's part of the again he's talking about. Let's talk about black folks. Because I got to talk about black folks just for a minute. Let's talk about our past and our history. If you talk about let's go back a little bit further, back to before the Clintons. That would have been the Bush era. Remember the Bush era? The Reagan Bush era, where crack cocaine was flooding our neighborhoods? Yes. Crack cocaine that Maxine Waters, as a congressperson, as like a person that Congressman Evans is going to have a chance to work with, she was able to bring out in testimony that the U.S. government was helping to finance to bring into our communities in congressional records. And that was part of the whole Iran-Contra scandal. They were bringing drugs into our community in the 80s. Like the crack cocaine epidemic was not an accident, it was facilitated by our government. So maybe is that the again he wants to go back to, because that didn't happen on the Clinton watch, and it certainly didn't happen on Obama's watch. We go back a little further, we can go back to the days before busing of schools, and we had legally saying that our communities were integrated, but we had no practical application of that. We can go back further, before the 1968 Voting Rights Act, where most of this country, we couldn't vote without being discriminated against. Or maybe we can go back before 1954, Brown versus Board of Education. Before Brown versus Board of Education, separate but equal was the law of the land, and they could keep us separated.
Come on.
And put us in substandard conditions and merely pretend that they were equal. We can go back before that, if you want to go back a little further in history, to Plessy versus Ferguson, a U.S. Supreme Court case that said that you had to provide separate but equal accommodations, which was an innovation in its time, because prior to that, the law of the land was a Supreme Court case called Dred Scott. Now, most of y'all probably don't remember the Dred Scott case. But the Dred Scott case was a case when the rights of a free black man, Dred Scott, were impinged upon, violated, and he was disrespected in every capacity, physically incarcerated, and his very liberty taken away from him. And the Supreme Court of the United States said it was fine. There was no penalty for what was done to him because, and I quote, "A black man has no rights that a white man need respect." Is that the again we're trying to go back to? Now we can go back to the internment of the Japanese and the Chinese. We can go back to Mexicans being forced to be in Mexican land, being forced, and them being slaughtered in Texas. We can go back to a point in time where there was the mass genocide of Native Americans. But I submit to you, if you're a woman, if you're a minority, and I've got one more for you that a lot of those folks voting for him don't understand, because he is a rich man who exploited poor white folks when he was building Trump Tower, that made them sleep in the dirt, didn't pay them what they were deserved, and would not let them leave until they finished.
That's right.
Because when America was founded, the only people that had rights were rich, land-owning white men. So even those poor white men that think he's for them, if he takes it back far enough to again, they don't have any rights either. So what I want to say to you is this. We got to be very careful in this time. And I'm bringing this up because, see, my father spent his whole life fighting to make sure that our community did what it had to do. And when we're watching TV, and they're saying that neighborhoods like West Oak Lane, Germantown, Southwest Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, Parkside, Winfield, and yes, North Philadelphia can determine the outcome of the presidential election. Because that's saying that there's no path for Donald Trump to become president if he doesn't come through Pennsylvania. There is no path for Donald Trump to become president if he doesn't come through Pennsylvania. And if Philadelphians come out in big numbers, that he can't be the president. And we can show the world that it will never, not again, but we're going to say, he says, make America great again. I say never again. Never again will we go to have a time or go back like that. Never again will we be disrespected. Never again will we allow women to be violated. Never again. And what I want to say to you is this. I'm making this speech because if I were to do anything else, anything less than that, it would be like disrespecting my father's legacy. Because my father never came up and talked about what we had done in the past. He always told us we had to fight for what we need to go forward. He was a fighter. And the only speech that I could ever give to support and respect his legacy is a speech that encourages every one of us not to merely look back on what we've done in the past, but to push harder, fight more, and make sure that we're going to be better tomorrow than we were yesterday. Thank you so much. God bless.